I'm here with Idgie, and Idgie is a dog that has separation anxiety, and just she was chewing the furniture. Since COVID has hit, she's on actually some Prozac now, and so Prozac has helped interrupt that the chewing behavior. So in this video, I'm going to go over my method to help dogs that have separation anxiety. Now, first of all, a couple things for a lot of people watch my videos. If your dog is chewing things up when you leave it alone, it is not doing it intentionally to piss you off. I know it seems that way. It is a panic attack, and when dogs are stressed, they like to chew on things. Sometimes dogs will try to come to find you, and so they might chew around the doorway of your house or through walls. I've seen dogs that chew through kennels and all the rest of that stuff, and it's a symptom. It's not intentional. So please, if your dog has separation anxiety, don't get upset with it. It's a symptom. So basically, the first thing I always talk about is making sure we set the dog up for success. So we talked about getting her enough exercise. Dogs need at least an hour's worth of exercise every day, and if we don't get them enough exercise, that will amplify the anxiety. Also, dogs that have separation anxiety are insecure dogs by default. And so right now, if I pet this behavior, I'm rewarding this and this is a little bit of a needy behavior. It's very cute, but it is a little bit of a needy behavior. I want the dog to do things that I want and that are positive, and I'm going to reward for that. So sit. Sit. Anytime you give a treat, the treat goes in the mouth first, they hear the command word second. So if you have a dog that has separation anxiety, one of the wonderful things you can do to help them is to teach them new tricks and commands, especially ones that require a little self-control, because that can really help the dog practice control, number one, but also it boosts their self-esteem and confidence. And just like us, confident people brush things off, insecure people melt down. Okay, so when dogs have separation anxiety, they actually start panicking long before we actually leave the house. Now, dogs that can have separation anxiety have two versions. Version one, which is the most common, is I can't be alone. I just need somebody or something with me. Some dogs have separation anxiety if one person specifically is missing. So in her case, I'm guessing it's probably the former, but it could be either one. So when they see us getting through our departure ritual, we get up, we grab our purse, we grab our keys, we grab our glasses, we put our watch on, we put our shoes on, we wear a uniform. So the dog sees these things as a precedent to us leaving, and they start working themselves up before we leave. So one of the first things you want to do, the first steps that I like to do, is to desensitize the dog. So go over and grab your keys and pick them up. The dog looks at you and then put them down, then sit down and watch TV. Grab your purse, put it on, walk to the door, then turn around, walk away, put it down. So you're doing these things independent of you actually leaving. Excuse me, sweetheart. And so we want to desensitize the dogs for this. We're going to come back to this stage later on and actually add them in to help the dog practice them again. So once we've gotten to the point where we can pick up our keys or whatever, the dog just like looks at you, doesn't even really get up, then we're kind of making some good progress. Now, this process that I do is I want the dog to practice being alone in an easier capacity. Most of us go from 100% access, like right now I'm 100%, she has 100% access to me. When I leave, she goes to 0. That's the biggest range that there possibly is. So the way that I've found to counter this is to teach the dog to stay, so we can help the dog practice being somewhere in between the 0 and 100 of being alone. So now I'm going to go through my stages of teaching a dog to stay. Now there's 3 segments of teaching your dog to stay, and everybody tries to teach the dog all 3 at the same time, which makes it 3 times as hard. So what you want to do is you want to teach for duration, then for distance, then for distraction. Don't move to the next step until you've fully established the previous step. So for duration, I like the dog to be able to stay for a minimum of 3 minutes, 5 different times in a row before I go to start incorporating any distance whatsoever. The stay is the only command that we ask the dog not to do something. It's very hard. You tell the dog to stay, they start rolling over and shaking and jumping up and doing, yeah, I can smell these treats. Why are you not giving me the treats? Don't talk to the camera. Give me these treats. All right, so when I'm doing this, I'm going to have more treats than I'm actually planning on staying, or more repetitions. I'm going to have, and since she's little, it's LA, I'm going to tear him in half because she's got to keep that petite figure. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to lure her off of me. I'm going to tell her to stay, and I'm going to punctuate it with my hand. Stay. I pull my hand back to my breast, and I count to whatever my interval is, and then I deliver it, and I say stay again. Now, when you're doing this, later on when we're doing stay, we say stay, then we go do our things, and we release the dog. It's a 1 repetition. When we're teaching the dog to stay, we need a lot of reps. And so we're going to think about this as cycles or bookends. So I'm going to show you the stay. I'm going to do it twice, and then I'm going to do a release. Now, to do a stay, you need a release word. For the dogs that I have, I say release, break, freedom, and parole. I like using fun command words. Do you have any of those words you'd like to use?
Break.
Break. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 stays, and then I'm going to do the break to show you how to release the dog. So you're going to hear me saying it twice, and this is what throws people off. So stay, I started it, I put my hand back to my chest, I count to whatever it is, and always count in your head. When I get done, I deliver the treat and I say stay again, and this ends that cycle. Then I either say stay to start another cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stay. And that ended the cycle. And then if I end the exercise completely, break. So I throw the treat that causes the dog to have to get up and take 1 or 2 steps away, and when they lick it up, I say the word break. So we're putting in context, breaks means to leave. Now when you're doing a couple of side notes, always count in your head or keep a watch so you know where you're at. Anytime your dog gets up and moves away, we call that an auto release. That means you pushed too far, you got greedy. So if you're trying to get to 30 seconds at 25 seconds, your dog gets up. Next time you practice, you would practice at like 21, 22 seconds. So you need to count to know where you're at. Also, a lot of us lock eye contact with our dog. Sit, stay, and if we keep eye contact, as soon as I turn my head away, the dog would get up and move away. Eventually, we're going to do the stay in another room. So when you're doing this, look around, look at your watch, pull out your phone is a great one to look at because we look at it a lot. Help the dog practice not having you look at them the whole time. Last thing is dogs don't generalize well, so we don't want to just practice right here. If I only practiced in this location, she can stay right here, but if I go over there, she won't be able to do it. So you practice this in multiple places, parts of your house. So let's come over here, let's do a profile so they can see you. Now, one other thing that people do when they say stay is they go stay. Well, if I put my hand, somebody puts his hand in my face, I don't like that. So I want to be halfway distance. So stay, pull it back to your hand over at your side, count to whatever the interval is. And I'm looking for a little eye contact this one. You don't have to, but stay to deliver that again. Then I start it. Oops. Stay. 1, 2. You're doing a very good job. Usually I have to do like 1 second to start out. Stay. And then I'm going to throw the treat aside and say break. So everybody in the family can do this, and when you're first doing this, make sure nobody's eating Cheetos over there,
Yeah, right.
or jumping in the pool or other things, because that's distraction. That's the third D. So let's show a little bit of distance. So you're going to practice this, and at first, and keep a chart so everybody kind of knows where you're at, and don't always exercise to or practice to your maximum. So if I'm at like 3 minutes, I don't want to have every stay at 3 minutes. Maybe I do one that's 3 minutes, and the next one I might do 20 seconds, and then another one 3 minutes, and the next one like 30 seconds. So the dog kind of knows where it is, but throw some easy ones in there. All right, sit. Sit. So now I'm going to start incorporating a little bit of distance. I'm going to try to get up. Here, sweetheart. I know. So when I got up, you thought that we were done. We're not quite done yet. All right, sit. You got a nice smile. All right, so I'm going to say stay, pull it back. I take 1 step back, then I come right back and hit stay. Stay. 1, and I can start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Move 1 step back. Stay. Another version of doing this, and each dog is a little bit different, is I can say stay. Normally I wouldn't bend over like this, but as I'm doing this faster, you would stand up normally. Stay. 1, 2. Stay. Break. So when you're doing this stage, you can do it in 2 versions. You can take 1 step back and then start increasing your distance while you're 1 step away. Some dogs you need to do that and get yourself up to like 15 seconds and then go to 2 steps and then go back to 1 second and then come back 2 steps and then work your way up to 15 seconds here. Other dogs you could say stay, and she might be in the second camp. Stay, take 1 step back, count to 2, come back, stay, take 2 steps back, count to 4. Now what I do is when I start this off, I double the number of steps for the seconds. So I take 4 steps back, I would count to 8. But every dog is unique. Go at your dog's pace, not at our pace. Once you get to the point where you can get your dog to stay for 3 minutes in 5 different times in a row without her getting up, then you're ready to start going, and that'll probably, depending on how often you practice, it's usually achievable or not. And a week is a really aggressive way to get that, usually about 2 or 3 weeks. And the more you practice, the better you'll do. And one little tip for that, if you want to practice 50 stays a day, grab 50 treats, put it in a little ramekin or Ziploc bag on the counter. By the end of the day, make sure you're empty. It helps you stay on track.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you get to the point where you're 3 minutes, then you can start adding in the distance. Now I'm going to show you another version of it, and I'll just pantomime. So let's say the dog is right here, and now I'm working for distance, and they're going to say that this little thing that's right here, I'm guessing a fire pit, is a wall. So I don't want to start moving out of distance or out of eyesight until I'm about 15 feet away. So this is about 15 feet. Let's say the wall goes to right here. So I come back here, 14, 15. I take one step here so the dog can't see me, and I go right back, and then I walk right away. When you move out of the dog's line of sight, only do it for a fraction of a second. I mean, like, it'll literally like boom, and then go straight back to the dog. And if your dog got up, then you would need to practice that and staying right there. And instead of, if this is the wall, let's say the wall's right here, instead of going all the way over here, so I'm obscured by the wall, if the wall's here, I might just kind of lean this way and not complete my, and you want to break it down into small, easy steps until the dog can practice it. Once you get to the point where you're starting to move out of the dog's line of sight, then you're going to start adding duration to the distance, and you're being out of sight. And that's why we break the eye contact earlier. So now, once we can do this, then what we could do is put the dog into a stay in the bedroom, then we go in the living room and we watch an episode of Modern Family or some other awesome TV show, and then we come back and we release the dog. So now the dog has practiced being able to stay outside the room. Also, we also want the dog to be on top of us, which is fine, but then they're not practicing. So it's nice to have them practice being at a dog bed or being a couple of feet away in the room. And I'd like you to also incorporate this on your day-to-day mundane tasks. So I'm gonna get up and go get a glass of water. Stay, I get up and go get a glass of water and come back and release the dog. And the best time to do this is when the dog is very relaxed. If you look at her right now, she's in a nice, chilled, relaxed mood. Don't try to do this when she's all crazy and full of energy, because you're fighting against against the energy. So there's nothing wrong with you watching TV and she just looks up at you and say, stay, and watch more TV, and then stay. And so you're kind of incorporating that in there. And it's, I'm going to say cheating, but that's what we're going to do. And that's how we are going to do this stay, is we're going to get up and go to the bathroom. Also, if you have a dog with separation anxiety, don't let it come to the bathroom with you. For some reason, almost every client I have with separation anxiety, the dog goes into the bathroom. Again, I don't have any practice. Staying outside that doorway is good practice of being alone as well. All right, now we also do something called a relaxation protocol. Come here. And this incorporates the stay and also some stimulus to help the dog practice doing different things. Sit. Now it's not really a stay. Sit. I promise I'll give you the treat if you sit. Sit. So the relaxation protocol is have the dog sit or stay, sit in a location, and I do something like this. Sit. So I had too much criteria there. That's why she got up and started coming towards me. Sit. Sit. You stay in a sit. Sit.
Cheated.
It's like, I'm done with this already. Sit. So this time I take a step back and I come back forward and give her a treat. I'm not telling her to stay at this point. I just want her to sit and be calm, and this time I might take and go this way. And next time I might go, I don't know where that went. But the idea is, and I might give you a list, I'll email it to you, but for the relaxation protocol, we want the dog to just sit and then practice having us take a step back and come forward to give it a treat. Next time I'm going to take a step back and do a little bit of a spin and come back, or take a clap. And eventually I'm walking towards the door and touching the doorknob, and the dog is staying there. We're helping them practice relaxing through a various number of protocols, hence the name. So that's a nice thing to do, and I'll send you a list of about 15 days, and it seems silly. Take a step back and clap 3 times and come back and give the dog a treat, but that's what part of the process.
Yeah.
All right, so now once we've achieved the stay for duration, we can have the dog stay. And for dogs, once they can do something for 2 hours, you usually don't ever have to practice it beyond 2 hours. I'm not saying you're gonna have to practice for 2 hours, but putting her to stay in the kitchen and then going in and watching TV or doing a puzzle or doing stuff outside, helping her practice being alone. Once we've done that, now we're ready to actually start practicing exiting, which is hard. But the dog has now practiced being alone. So what I would do is I would grab my keys, pick them up and put them down, and go back to what we talked about earlier and make sure the dog is comfortable with that. And when I pick up the keys and the dog just does what she's doing now and just laying there, I pick up the keys, I go to the door, touch the handle, come back and put the keys down. Do that a couple times until she stays relaxed. Then I pick up the keys, go open the door handle, I open and close the door, and then I turn around and come right back inside. So you're only out for a half a second, and I come right back in before the dog has a chance to panic. What we want the dog to do is practice being home and relaxed and not panicking. And she leaves, but she comes right back. And then next time, after we do that a couple times, then I stay 2 seconds outside, 3 seconds. If you have a home security system and you can watch your dog, that's wonderful, because you can go outside. And you don't want to, the thing that that people get screwed up at this stage is they start getting greedy. Okay, she's doing pretty good. Let's go to Starbucks real quick. We went from 5 seconds to now 15 minutes.
Right.
If the dog spends 14 minutes relaxing, the last minute they freak out. The freshest memory engram they have is a freaking out. So what we want to do is go very slowly and methodically, and that's why it's helpful to keep a journal so you can write all this stuff down, and eventually get to the point where you can leave. And the key to doing this is, instead of going to Starbucks, go in your front yard, have your iPad, watch a little TV, read right outside. So if you can watch her and she starts panicking, you can come in right away. And so she doesn't spend 5 minutes panicking or 20 minutes. It's a second or two. And panicking usually starts off by pacing, drooling, whining, whimpering, and getting twitchy. So the idea is, if you can film her right there, that's what we like to see her doing, that sort of thing when you're outside. So she goes and sits down on her dog bed or lays down, and she just doesn't care because we've helped her practice being alone. We've increased her confidence from being alone. We're exercising her more. And before doing these things, exercising her before you do these things is really helpful as well. You put her in a position to succeed. And eventually, she's just comfortable and relaxed because she's practiced the behavior. She knows how to do it. And you always come home and no boogeyman happens. All right, well, this sweetheart is Idgie, and you're doing exactly what we want you to do. You're demonstrating nice, relaxed energy. Now, one last little thing before I sum up. She's on Prozac right now, and the Guardian and I were talking about it. It's helpful for Prozac to stop her from her chewing behavior. Once you've achieved all these things, that's when I would like you to talk to your vet and say, I'd like to reduce that. Now you're demanding attention. How about a sit? Sit. That's much better. That's a Premac right there. So once you get done doing this, talk to your vet and explain that you've been working on this and you want to. And a good vet is going to work with you, but you don't want to just stop the Prozac. You have to gradually wean them off. And if you have setbacks and she's having problems when you start weaning her off, let me know. There might be a little adjustments we need to do. All right, let's sit down for America so you can see what a pretty girl you are. Idgie, sit. That's Idgie. These are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that suffers from separation anxiety.